Ah, Bioshock. One of those universally beloved games. This 2K Games produced first-person shooter came out in 2007 and received Game of the Year level scores pretty much universally. I bought this on Xbox 360 when it first came out, and I remember my best friend and I being pretty much obsessed. I have nothing but fond memories of this game, but I don't really think I've replayed it since the late 2000s. I do remember the twist and the general storyline, but I'm interested to see how this has held up in the last 15 years. I will be playing through on the PC using a Steam copy of the 2016 Remastered Edition, which cleans up some of the frame rate issues and supports higher resolutions, but it also introduces a fun bug where you can't change the brightness settings. After some fucking around and looking up on the internet, I came up with some solutions, but you might have that trouble if you go this route. As always, I'll be going through my thoughts on the story and the mechanics as we go through, so yeah, spoiler warning ahoy right here. Starting out on a jetliner in 1960, our player named Jack has his airplane crash in the ocean. Fun. We take control in the ocean with some kinda wonky fire effects, and I see a giant-ass tower in the middle of the ocean right next to where we crash. Coincidence, right? Inside it is a giant bronze bust with a quote by a man named Andrew Ryan that says, "In what country is there a place for people like me?" I don't know who Andrew is yet, but a little bit further in, we take a underwater elevator down to what says 18 fathoms. We also get to watch a nice 1960s style video voiced by Andrew Ryan himself. And soon, we get our first view of Rapture City, with giant undersea skyscrapers. And I'll admit, I love this when I first played it, and I'm getting the same sense of wonder. It really looks awesome. Of course, anyone who has played this knows it's kind of a horror-style first-person shooter, so things obviously won't be as they seem, and our little elevator stopping shows pretty much exactly that. Some guy's eviscerating another dude with a meat hook, and I have no way to defend myself, so, this could suck. But we get a call on a nearby shortwave radio from someone named Atlas. Apparently he watched us crash, but he's going to try and help us get to safety. Or at least, so he says. Heading through the area, I see a flying robot shooting some guy, so that's probably something we're going to have to deal with. And Atlas points out that I should kindly pick up a wrench that I'll have to use on my first enemy.
Now, would you kindly find a crowbar or something? Bloody splicer, seal Johnny in before they...
Heading upstairs, I see a needle with some glowing liquid in it. So obviously, using video game logic, I inject myself with it, because, that's what you do when you see strange needles, right? You inject yourself. This knocks me out, and in my kind of drunken haze, I see a little girl with glowing eyes walking around, following that big dude that's actually on the cover of this game. The one that has the old-time diver's helmet. But coming to, I now have magic powers, and I can shoot electricity through my hands. Neato. Using it on my enemies stuns them, which gives me a great opportunity to bash their heads in with my wrench. Atlas calls me, and he pleads me to go down to a place called Neptune's Bounty to help find his family. I don't exactly have a choice. The game doesn't give me one, so that's the plan right now. On the way, I find some crazy lady singing nursery rhymes to a pistol and a baby carriage. Atlas calls and informs me that the plasmids basically melted everyone's brains, so that's why this place is a total shit show. Going through the wrecked building, I come to a theater and walk above the scaffolding. There's one of those little girls standing over a dead body with a needle collecting Atom, which apparently is the genetic material we use to get more plasmids, and she's called a little sister. A crazy splicer attacks her, presumably to get the Atom, and out of nowhere one of those big fellas comes in and smashes the shit out of him with his drill. These are called Big Daddies, and they protect the little sisters. The game now introduces me to environmental effects. Basically, I can use my electric and later fire powers on water or oil to ignite it or electrocute my enemies. It's pretty convenient, and while it is a pretty standard mechanic now, back in 2007 this was definitely really cool. As I make my way to Neptune, the station goes into lockdown. Atlas calls and tells me that Andrew Ryan is trying to stop me. I end up getting locked in a cage, and Ryan calls me via video screen to basically tell me that he's not going to put up with my shit. Somehow I make it out and into the medical area. This is my first time seeing the vending machines throughout the city, and I remember this "welcome to the circus of values" in the back of my brain. There's also a broken flying robot that I can hack, and the game gives me this connect the pipe style minigame. We encounter a locked door, and I have to head to the surgical area now to get a doctor's key to get through. Weirdly, entering this area we get some sort of flashback or ghostly image. It's probably important to the story, but in here we find a few more game mechanics. Ryan has the station outfit with security cameras that will set off alarms if they see me, which basically means that they send in a whole bunch of those flying robots to kill me. There's also some different ammunition types. Armor piercing, for example, will do more damage to armored targets. And I also get another plasmid called Incinerate, which, well, shoots fireballs. I forgot how much I love this little thing.
Light up foes to 1,000 degrees. Warning, fire spreads.
It's the Fallout style, 1950s, 1960s style of videos in here that really adds that retro touch. Even though the content is, obviously super futuristic, it's really cool to have that old school feel. Anyway, this little plasmid lets me light up gasoline and burn the hell out of these splicers. I can also use it to melt blocks of ice that are blocking my progress. There's another tag team of Little Sister and Big Daddy walking by, and it's really great hearing the stomp and the ground shake, plus that unearthly mode. You can really tell when one of these fuckers is on its way, and it kind of gets you scared and excited that you might be able to get some more at them. Shortly after this, I actually get the telekinesis plasmid that allows me to catch grenades and stuff and throw them back. Boom. One of the things about this game that really stands out is just how fucked the scenery is. You have this contrast with the beautiful vistas of an underwater city, and then shit like this, a presumably medical patient with giant scissors jammed into its eye sockets. Nice. In the interest of time here, I'm actually leaving out something pretty fundamental here. Littered throughout Rapture are audio logs which tell me parts of the main or individual characters' stories. It definitely adds to the immersion, although I can't really explain why people are carrying around giant-ass tape recordings of themselves and then leaving them littered in the streets. I guess it's one of those chalk it up to video game logic type things. Our good doctor that we're looking for is doing a great job with his patients, as you can see here. I shoot him in the face enough times and voila, the key is ours. Let's get the hell out of this creepy-ass doctor's office. The game now puts me in a bit of a moral quandary. I can either kill the Little Sisters and take all of their atom, or I can free them from their creepiness. Some lady says she'll make it worth my while if I free them, and I remember this being one of those all or nothing choices. Basically, if you kill any of them, you don't get the benefit at the end, but if you save them all, there's a massive reward. I'm generally always kind of a monster in video games, so I'm gonna murder this little psychopath. Right after harvesting her, the game throws a plasmid vending machine at us. I always found this strange, because these things really don't cost that much, so why aren't all of these splicers jacked to the tits on pretty much everything that they can find? Now that I've harvested my first little sister, Jack apparently has a thirst for more atom. So seeing another Little Sister and Big Daddy, I've got to do something, which means take care of a Big Daddy. These guys hit hard and can stun the hell out of you, but cheesing him around a wall, I can keep smacking with my shotgun and lightning blasts. It's game over, and I harvest the Little Sister. I'm not sure what the slug thing that I pull out is, but whatever. More atom for me. Using that crazy doctor's key, I can turn off the lockdown and make my way to Neptune's bounty. I guess my plan is to find Atlas and his family, but the next Big Daddy I see is quite a bit of a step up than the last one. This one has a gun and throws grenades. Going through almost all of my ammunition, health, and plasmids, I finally take it down, and I get to snag that sweet, sweet atom. Following Atlas's recommendation, I go down to the fisheries, and I knock to get in, but the dickhead behind the door named Peach Wilkins won't let me go in unless I go get him a camera and take some pictures of stuff. So, fetch quest it is. Thankfully, he was nice enough to give me a grenade launcher, which makes pretty short work out of another Big Daddy. I'm going through health packs like crazy at this point in the game, and I'm only playing on normal. The game is definitely ramping up damage heavily. Getting the camera, we're introduced to another gameplay mechanic. Basically, I can take pictures of enemies and we learn what they're vulnerable to, and then our attacks do more damage to them. Pretty standard mechanic these days, but remember, this is back in 2007. I would like to point out one of my favorite parts of this game. Hacking cameras and turrets and just letting the automated defenses do the dirty work for me is so great, and it's so unbelievably fun. I don't really love the hacking part specifically, but I do love just having my own army of robots. I finally collect all of Crazy Peach's pictures, and so now the fucker's gonna let me in. But first he makes me give up all of my guns beforehand, except for my wrench. And obviously all of my plasmids, which are in my brain, I guess. It looks like we're going into an ice area, so I'm going to make sure that I bring my fire plasmid. Now, usually when games play the "let me have your weapons" trope, it means you're about to get betrayed, and this is no exception. Peach is a little piece of shit, but I take care of everyone quickly using my fire plasmids. We really only were without weapons for a quick little area, and I get to retrieve them all. And the game throws its first weapon upgrade station at me. I'm going to opt for the shotgun damage increase, and nice. I love it when games like this change the look of the weapons when you upgrade. It's a really nice little feature. Heading further in, I encounter another ghost image, which I'm guessing are some preserved memories from my past. Atlas jumps in and says that we made it and it'll be smooth sailing from here. Yeah, what do you all bet that's not going to happen? Heading into the submarine bay, Atlas asks us to hit the control panel and pull his family up. But halfway through, Ryan cuts in and says if we do, he's going to be super aggro. Ruh-roh. Ryan is all salty and sends an army of splicers and then blows up the submarine with Atlas's family in it. Oops, dick move, but come on, who didn't see that coming? Atlas is understandably upset, and he charges us to go and take care of Ryan. I'm not sure why he wouldn't want to do it himself, but I guess we can do it. The new area that we go into is kind of a garden area, and it's called Arcadia, and it's a bit creepy. And the splicers here have some plasma that allows them to disappear and reappear all over the place. It's actually really annoying to kill them, to be honest. Shortly later, Andrew Ryan pumps poison into the air and kills all the plant life in Arcadia. Apparently the poison or whatever doesn't hurt us, but doesn't this kill all of the oxygen production for the city? That seems kind of like a poorly thought out move on Ryan's part. Anyway, Atlas recommends we go find a nearby researcher named Julie Langford to figure out how to restore the plant life. She asked me to get a sample of a rose and return it to her, so we're off on another fetch quest. The in-game compass does a very good job telling me where to go, so I'm never really lost. However, it does take away the need to explore. You certainly still can, but it's not necessary at all. With the requested rose sample in tow, our research lady is able to make a cure for the shit Ryan dumped in the air. Making our way up to grab the cure, there's a pretty gorgeous view from her office here. But before we can get the cure, Ryan pumps gas into her office, killing her, and thankfully she's able to write the code to her office safe before she dies on the window. Sucks for her, but I get to steal her flamethrower, so that's a plus. Listening to Langford's diary, we hear that the components needed to create her Lazarus chemical, which I guess is what will bring all the dead plant matter back to life. I'm still not entirely sure why Ryan is dead set on killing everyone by destroying the oxygen production, but I have to deal with this fetch quest and get the air up and running again. So, first stop to the farmer's market. It really doesn't look like much selling has gone on here in a while, which kind of begs the question, when did this place turn to a hellhole and how are people getting food here? I do manage to buy insect swarm at a nearby atom spot, which means basically I can sick bees on people, which is awesome. Gathering all the parts, I whip up the Lazarus vector at a crafting station and I throw it into what's called the misting control in Langford's office. While this system sets up, Ryan decides to send as many splicers as he can to murder me, and I have to defend this whole section. The turrets I hacked in our office are super helpful, and this section is actually taken care of really easily. With this done, next up we have to head to Hephaestus, where Ryan lives. Heading through the metro to take a sphere to Hephaestus, of course some guy jumps in and blocks our path. Sander Cohen is his name, and I can already tell he's going to be a pain in the ass. Basically, he's pulling me off into the theater district of Fort Frolic. Old Sander Cohen is giving me a serious Hannibal Lecter vibe from Silence of the Lambs. He's basically forcing people to learn the arts, and then when they fail, he kills them. For example, this guy on the piano. Cohen tells me I need to take a photo of the exploded guy and put his picture out on his masterpiece. There's spots for 4 photos here, so clearly I have to go photograph 3 other dead bodies and put them up here before I finish this little leg of the quest. All these guys are killed pretty easily, and I head back to the atrium to post pictures for Cohen. And then this guy comes down to look at the photos. I'm not sure why he's so proud of my work. Clearly I did all this and not him, but either way he's happy with my work and he lets me move on to Hephaestus. Finally here, it's time to go to Ryan's office and finish this, right? The entrance to Ryan's office is pretty nice, I guess, if you're into the whole Roman torture thing, but of course before I can get into the office, I now have to go down to the core of the system, which I guess is a power station, and kill off all the power that's locking his front office door. Basically, to turn off the core, I have to build an EMP bomb, and this game has us do another fetch, find parts quest. With all the pieces gathered, the bomb's created pretty quickly, and now I have to drop the thing off in the core to fucking blow up all the electronics holding the door to Ryan's office closed. That done, we move into Ryan's office. Instead of seeing the guy, he has a video screen where he goes on a tirade against us. Ryan then decides that he's actually going to self-destruct the core and blow up the entire city, rather than let us win. I can't really see a good reason that Ryan would want to do this. It doesn't actually really make any sense, but finally we make it up to Ryan, who is actually just sitting there practicing putting while the entire city is set to self-destruct. This is where we learn that our character is actually mind-controlled by a simple phrase, "Would you kindly?" Apparently I'm a Manchurian candidate, and for some reason Ryan commands me to beat him to death with a golf club. That doesn't really make sense.
Obey!
I end the self-destruct, and Atlas thanks us by telling us that he's not actually Atlas, but instead he's a guy named Frank Fontaine, which the game has hinted is Ryan's rival in the city of Rapture. So Ryan is dead, but Frank is now in charge, and he's just as much of an asshole. The cutscene ends, and Frank turns on all the city's defenses on me. For some reason, a bunch of little sisters pop up and usher me into a crawl space, and they move me to a woman named Tenenbaum's office. Side note, Tenenbaum is actually the crazy lady who set up the Big Daddy Little Sister program to begin with. Keep in mind that I've been harvesting these little girls the whole time, so I'm not really sure why they're so happy to help me.
Who's he? He's the one who hurts us.
Yeah, okay, that's rough. Maybe I should have saved these little girls just so I don't have to hear that particular line. Fuck. So Tenenbaum does something that makes it so that Frank can't control us with the "would you kindly" line anymore, but he can still fuck with us via other code words. Like he can say the code word yellow and it drops all my health down. So apparently the only thing to do is get through this and kill off Frank. I make it up into Frank's apartment, and obviously he's not here, but I do find a liquid called Lot 192. Basically, this glowing drink removes much of my mental suggestibility that he put on me. Unfortunately, I need more than one vial, so I have to go on a hunt to find another dose, and basically negate all the effects of whatever Frank is doing to me with his verbal cues. Unfortunately, it seems to be making me go a little crazy, because I keep cycling through my plasmids randomly. It's, I guess, a side effect of this concoction. Thankfully, getting the second dose of 192 is pretty easy to get, and now we can go down and take care of Frank once and for all. On to Point Prometheus. Frank runs away from me and barricades himself behind a big door. So Tenenbaum's plan is that I actually turn myself into a Big Daddy, and then use the little sisters to help open up all the doors. So basically, I have to set out to look like, smell like, and sound like a Big Daddy. This section is lovely. We get to see how they take little girls and turn them into the Little Sisters program, which basically has them run around and suck Adam out of dead bodies with needles. Either way, I have all my parts and I'm wearing a Big Daddy suit, so it's time to call Little Sister and open this door up. But unfortunately, this means that we have an escort quest. Basically, I have to protect this little sister in the proving grounds. The camera change is actually kind of annoying because my point of view is now just a big circle because I'm staring out of a Big Daddy mask. Either way, this escort is lame, and I'm basically just taking her through a course where she pokes 3 dead bodies for Adam, and I have to defend her. Escorts and endless waves are the bane of video games, and even back in 2007, they needed to stop with escorts. Either way, when I'm finally done, my little sister I'm escorting gives me her needle, and says the only way to finish Fontaine for good is to drain his Adam out with this needle. Hell yeah, let's poke this bitch. So we get our first view of Fontaine, and he's kind of like a big, naked, alien-looking fucker. And our boss fight is I have to kill him, drain him, kill him, drain him, and I have to do that 4 times. It's not super interesting or eventful, but once he's dead, an army of little sisters comes and stabs the fuck out of him, and he's dead. Our final cutscene is pretty depressing. It's basically showing how much of an asshole I am harvesting the little sisters. I guess the cutscene is telling me that I took all the Adam and left Rapture and then took over the rest of the world by getting my hands on some nukes or something. I'm not entirely sure what the fuck that endgame cutscene was. It really was kind of anticlimactic. Okay, game over, credits. So let's talk about this a bit. For starters, let's talk about the game's sound. The game does well in the sound department. You know that juxtaposition that Fallout does with stuff like Frank Sinatra singing while you shoot the fuck out of people with laser guns? Well, that's essentially the style of Bioshock. It's an alternative reality, and the sound is really on point. Guns sound good, the music is fun, and the audio logs are good enough. Good sound in my opinion. Now moving on to gameplay, which is, the bread and butter of an FPS, right? Well, right off the bat, Bioshock doesn't have an aim-down sight, which always feels weird to me. Maybe it's too much Call of Duty in my life and not enough Counter-Strike, but either way, the shooting feels good, and the multitude of plasmas you get is really cool. I enjoyed running around and gunning or freezing my enemies only to smash them to pieces with my wrench. I would say that the hacking minigame got really old by the end of this game. There's only so many times I can do that water pathway minigame without getting really tired of it. I wish there was a realistic way to just auto-complete them without using an auto-hack or paying money, but it's a simple gripe, and I probably could have just destroyed most of the turrets or flying robots instead of hacking them, honestly. As far as the quests, some of the quest styles aren't great. The game has a lot of fetch quests, and at the end we're thrown that long escort quest. The game also doesn't do a good job of locking down doors and giving you a gauntlet that you have to run through a lot of enemies in a set amount of time. These are never great, and all of these are the bane of video games, but the good of the game outweighs the quests, so I'll let it slide. Now where this game really shines is the atmosphere. Bioshock created a new undersea world when it was released that took the gaming community by storm. The crazy capitalist society out of a Nightmare Ayn Rand novel mixed with some cyberpunk and a dystopian history really brings the player into a dark as fuck world. Seeing the beautiful undersea skyscrapers and magnificent marble buildings completely fucked up and covered in essentially methed out psychopaths really makes you think that maybe this was once a prosperous, gorgeous utopia before it all went to shit. In short, the Atmosphere kicks ass, and few IPs I can think of really create such a unique world. Now, Bioshock isn't fondly remembered for its gameplay or its sound, but for its story. This game is supposed to be one of the best narrative experiences in FPS, and my feelings are, well, kind of mixed. I really enjoyed the playthrough, and maybe the whole mind control thing didn't hit as hard this time around since I already knew it was coming, but it just felt a little weak. Like our character is getting his mind controlled the whole time, and yet Ryan can't just tell us to kindly put a pistol in our mouth and shoot. Why is it that only Fontaine as Atlas can push us to do stuff? And then somehow when we need it, there are these magic potions we can drink to lose all the mind control hooks. It just seems a little weak on the story side, and in some ways just doesn't make any sense. Honestly, if this game went through with the opening push concept that you just crash land at the opening, and you have to escape from a psychopathic nightmare in Rapture, probably could have been good enough. I don't really understand Ryan convincing us to beat him to death either. I suppose the idea is he's showing us that we're still a slave to the could you kindly, but he could have also said, could you kindly put your pistol in your mouth and pull the trigger? And it just doesn't really make much sense. Either way, this game is great and I really enjoyed revisiting it. The gameplay may be a bit simple to a modern audience, a couple of different guns and some powers mixed in with some weapon upgrades and perks, but it really is fun to play through. The main story alone is pretty short. I clocked in at a little over 9 hours in this playthrough, but in 2022 it's still a great game that's above many modern titles. For how little it costs to play this on Steam, I really do recommend everyone jumps in and tries Bioshock if you've never played it. And it might be a great time now to give it another try if you already have. So, would you kindly drop a comment below saying me what game I should check out next, and if you recently did a playthrough of Bioshock, what do you guys think? Either way, next time in Rapture City, I'm obviously going to do Bioshock 2, so let's look forward to that.